I have with me Marvin Herbert, and Marvin is an ex-London gangster turned motivational speaker. And I heard part of Marvin's interviews, and real, very interesting. Marvin, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we finally got you on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it. So, Marvin, were you born in the UK or did you go there from somewhere else?
No, I was born in the UK.
And where are your
I was
family
born in,
from?
my dad's from Barbados and my mum's from Liverpool, United Kingdom.
Oh, okay. Amazing, man. Well, what time is it over there right now?
4:30
In the afternoon?
in the afternoon, yes.
Nice. And so I was looking at one of your videos talking about the rough life you had growing up. Tell the folks a little bit about how you grew up in Liverpool and what was this like for you.
Well, Liverpool, I was born in Liverpool in 1972. And then my mum and dad moved to London mid 70s. So around 77, 78, they moved to London. And that's when the trauma began.
And,
My memories of Liverpool was pretty um, harmonious, family orientated, and very connected. I felt connected. I felt alive. I felt normal.
yeah,
And then basically we came to London late 70s, and that's when the alienation started, not fitting in, you know, being neglected. We was sort of exposed to a lot of racial tension because in London at that time, there was no blacks, no dogs, and no Irish allowed in public buildings.
yeah.
So it was pretty hostile, especially for a young mixed race child, growing up in an environment where I wasn't accepted by the black community nor the white on a whole. Although there was some small percentages of both groups that accepted me, thank God.
And were you raised by both father and mother? Were they both in the home together?
No, my dad, my dad was a drug dealer. Um, uh, he used to import a large quantity of cannabis into the UK in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
He's dead now, but he was responsible for a lot of large importations. I found out through sort of intelligence and information that my mum's a lot younger than my dad, and she was kind of like my dad's sort of party girl. But he impregnated my mum, and basically by the time they moved to London, my mum was on her own. My mum was addicted to drugs, um, and she took a lot of drugs, sleepers, cannabis, and cocaine and alcohol. Um, I never really noticed anything until I got to around 9, 10 years of age, when I started experimenting with other people, older people in the peer group. And it was around 9, 10, 11 years of age, I got introduced to um, cannabis first. And then around the age of 10 and 11, I was introduced to crack, cocaine.
Wow.
11, 12, I was introduced to heroin. By the time I was 13, 14, I was a frequent user of crack cocaine every day, cocaine powder every day, cannabis every day, and heroin every 2 days. So I'd never take heroin for more than 3 days when I first started taking. So I got told back then that I'd get addicted to it forever. So
That's amazing.
I never got addicted to the heroin, but I became addicted to the drug-induced lifestyle, which then led on to crime.
Yeah. Your
to facilitate.
so your father was a drug dealer, your mother was using drugs, and this happened while you were growing up as a kid, and then you
Yeah,
ended up going down the same path there. Um, so your father is your father white or black?
black, black, black,
And your
black.
mother's white?
Correct.
Oh, I see. And so when you were doing the drug, did your mother and father know that you were on the drugs?
Yeah, I was smoking in the same house as my mum. My dad never stayed in the same house as us because by the time I got to 14 years of age, um, I confronted my dad because my dad was very abusive physically to me and my brothers and sisters. He burnt my hand over a fire once for stealing some sweets from the candy store. He beat me with a belt regularly, punched me like a man regularly. And basically, I got to the age of 14 when I decided I'd had enough. I used to steal his drugs off him to feed my brothers and sisters because we weren't a lot of money in the house because my mum was a drug user. So when I used to steal my dad's drugs, my dad used to blame my mum and beat my mum up. So
What a mess.
one day, I'm basically, I used to nick, I don't know, kilos and kilos of drugs off my dad, but my dad never believed it was me, but he believed it was my mum. And then one day, when I was about 14, I'm in my room. Me and my friends had stolen some um, jeans, some trouser jeans from a lorry, and we're in my house counting them. And then my dad's turned up and started beating up on my mum for the drugs that me and my friends had and
Right,
that we were selling. So
right.
at that point, I've said to my friends, "We've got to stop this. We've got to stop it." And then I picked up a bayonet. My friends picked up weapons, and I've run into the kitchen where my dad was beating my mum, and I put the bayonet up to his throat and told him to get out of my house, basically. Um, and I see the fear in his eyes. I pushed him back a little bit. He left my house, and then after that, I had to get a gun and then go and tell him in front of his friends that if he ever come to my house again and put his hands on my mum, that I'd kill him. And then all the beating stopped from then. So I was the man of the house at 14 years of age.
Were you the oldest child?
No, I was the middle child.
How many brothers and sisters you have?
Well, altogether, there's 16 brothers and sisters, but only 4 from my mum.
Oh, I see. 16 altogether, but only four with your mother.
Correct.
And did you go to school growing up?
I went to school for. I never went to secondary school. I only went to primary school. So by the time I was 11, I'd been kicked out of all the schools you could ever go to, basically. And then I got sent to it's like it's a school for naughty kids. They call them intermediate centres. Intermediate centres I used to go to. Intermediate treatment centre.
Right.
So I had to go there 3-4 days a week. But I was that bad, just that basically I got given some qualifications to leave the school. I never actually
Wow.
sat any exams. I
Eh,
never sat no exams. They asked me to leave the school and give me qualifications, which was equivalent to the British GCSEs. And they said I'll be able to get a job with them. I left school, and then a year later, the authorities took me off my mum and put me in care of the local authorities. Without going into too much detail, I was that bad behaved that they sent me to I live in England. They sent me to an out of bounds school in Wales, 40 miles from anywhere, in the middle of nowhere. And that was where I had to live and do with 4 other kids. Someone would come in the morning, drop off our breakfast, and then leave. And then someone would come over night time and stay with us throughout the night and then leave in the morning when the guy came with the breakfast. And basically, I was that bad again, Jess, that when I ran away from this place, yeah, the authorities was not aware I was gone until I was arrested at 17 years of age.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
When you were
crazy.
when you were doing drugs at home with your mother there, and all this stuff been happening in school, did she know about all that?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And what would she say?
yeah. Nothing. My mum was smoking drugs. My mum was happy that I'd give her drugs because the age of 14, 15, I'd already become a career criminal. I'd
Oh,
already been stealing. I was providing food, money for my sisters and my brothers, my nephews, my
right.
cousins, and my mum. Like I used to steal quite a bit of money as a kid, you know.
I want to ask this. So your four brothers is at home, your four brothers and sisters, did they use drugs as well?
Unfortunately, they did, yes, but not as bad as me, and for not as long as me.
How old are you now?
I'm 49.
49? Oh, okay. And so I was looking at one of your interviews and you said that growing up, you didn't think that your father loved you.
No, I didn't.
And what was that like to think that your father didn't love you? What was that like for you?
Um, Honestly, it still hurts now. It still hurts now. Even thinking about it. It made me angry. It made me angry. It made me. I just wanted to. I just wanted to destroy lives. I think
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Like I was just. I wasn't ever happy. I wasn't ever happy, and I just became obsessed with destroying lives. I'd imagine. I think looking at it retrospectively with hindsight now and a mature mindset, I could never ever understood understand why I'd done what I'd done as a kid throughout my whole years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what made me commit most of the violent crimes. Well, I know what made me commit most of the violent crimes, but I don't know why I'd done it. Because I suppose thinking about it, from the beatings I got from my dad and the lack of love I got from my dad and the feelings it made me feel, whenever I see other people being beaten or intimidated or bullied by anybody, I felt I had to protect them. I felt I had to protect them. So, although my crimes were violent crimes and I've been associated with lots of atrocities, it was only against bad people that was doing bad things to good people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And why did you think your father did not love you?
Um, as a kid growing up, what I didn't know that my brothers and sisters wasn't my dad's children. So when anything happened in my house, I'd get beaten and no one else would ever get beaten. So because of that, I believed at that stage of my life that he didn't love me. But now, as a grown man, through speaking to friends and family, I know he actually did love me. And when he died in 2016, I actually made up with him. I forgave him, and I told him I loved him, and I thanked him. I thanked him for being strong enough to beat me as much as he did to prepare me for the life I had. Because I've never taken medication. I've never taken sort of antidepressants. I
Right.
don't think I've ever been depressed. And I think that's because as a kid growing up, I experienced all the abandonment, all the neglect, and all the physical abuse you physically could. So mentally, I was already accustomed to a mindset and a way of life. So when I got hurt by people later in life, it never affected me.
Yeah.
When people let me down and when people neglected me, it never affected me because my emotions became void. I wouldn't let nothing hurt me. So Emotionally and physically, nothing could hurt me.
So before
And
he died, he said that he loved you.
yeah, he's always told me he loved me, but I never believed him because how could you, like, how? Like, it's like me, yeah? Like, I can fight and I can box, and it's like me punching an 8-year-old in the face.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't burn a child's hand over the fire. I couldn't do that. So I could never understand why he could do them things.
When you were asking your mother if your father loved you, what would she say?
No, no. I believed everything my mum said about my dad. That's why I hated my dad so much growing up.
Because of what she said about him?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
was she lying about what she was saying?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, she lied about lots of things, my mum. And even at the funeral, I had a speech prepared for my dad's because I got up to talk, but there was thousands of people at my dad's funeral. Somebody that came up to me on that day was telling me everything about my life and everything my dad told them he was proud of. And I couldn't believe how many people of 60, 70, 80 years of age actually knew who I was.
Oh, they knew who
Like
you
my
was
dad,
because your father would talk about you all the time?
yeah,
And so, did you
he
hate your
never stopped
father?
talking about me.
Did you hate your father because he beat you, or because of what your mother said about him?
Because of what my mum said.
Wow.
Because because I used my because of what my mum used to tell me, I say, fuck him. I ain't gonna let him hurt me. Do you know what I mean? Like, mum, when he used to beat my mum up, yeah, my mum would tell us or make us believe that he beat her up because she found out he had a girlfriend. Okay, but she never told us when she used to sleep with my dad's friends,
Oh,
or when she was a prostitute as well. No, so there's lots of hidden agendas with my mum that
yeah.
we wasn't aware of as children. And as I've got to know my mum, her history, her life, I found it very hard to forgive her after my dad passed, because I feel because of her hatred to my dad, she sort of prevented all us having a decent relationship with my dad, and we alienated him forever
Yeah.
in protection of my mum.
Amazing. And have you gone and forgiven her for what she did?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't hold feelings to nobody. Like, everybody does what they do because they have to do what they got to do in that situation for that moment in that time, and
So,
nobody's really responsible for what they do.
so did you
It's
go to your
just
mother and forgive her for turning you away from your father?
for everything. She's my mum, innit?
And
Like,
when
at the
you
end of the
went
day,
to
like,
her, and forgave her for what she had done, what did she say?
not a lot, not a lot. She, from her perspective, she don't think she's ever done anything wrong.
What a mess.
Yeah.
And so, how is your life now? We're running out of time here, and I'm disappointed because I had wanted to have you on for an hour. But how is your life today? How's it going?
Amazing,
Good, man.
amazing.
And so
It really is amazing.
you're having a better life as a result of forgiving your mother and father.
I'm having a better life forgiving everybody that's done me badness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even focus on my mum and dad. I focus on what's coming. Like, the most recent forgiveness was the guy that shot me 5 times. you know, and I hold no malice or bitterness towards him.
Right on. You've been
You know,
shot 5
I just
times.
forgive everyone, man. Everyone, yeah,
That's amazing, man.
yeah. I got shot. I got shot in my leg, my arm, my testicles, my forehead hair, and then my eye, because that's glass. Look,
Whoa!
that's glass.
What the?
Yeah,
That's
so that's
amazing.
not real. So I got shot point blank range in the eye. I got shot point blank range all over. I never bled. I never passed out, and I never died. So it put me on course for a new journey.
Right on. Right on. Well, man, we're about to run out of time, but I really wanted to talk to you, and I really enjoyed talking to you because I wanted to understand all the stuff you had gone through. How is your life today? And because I tell
Yeah,
people all the time, they need to forgive their mothers for turning them away from the fathers. And if you can love your father, you can love God, and you will have an amazing life. And a lot of mothers turn the
yeah,
children away from the fathers, causing them to have that void, that emptiness, thinking that the father didn't love them.
yeah,
And the worst thing that can happen to children, male and female of all races, is to be turned away from their fathers. It's the worst thing. It screws your life up. It leaves a void. But when you turn
yeah.
back to the father, you can have an amazing life. So I'm glad you went to your mother and forgave her for what she did to you. That was evil. And I'm glad your life is getting better for you, man.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
And we're going to have you back. And I know it was difficult getting hooked up because of the different locations. But I wish you well, Marvin Herbert. And I would love to have you back one day, all right?
No, I'll be back on soon. I'm going to speak to the team. We'll get a proper time scheduled in where we can have an hour or hour and a half. It's not a problem. It's just there's a big confusion with the time
Right.
difference between us today.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you, man.
Now your team,
Yes, sir.
your team's got my number now, so they can speak to me direct, and we can sort this out
Right
correctly
on.
now for the next time. Yeah.
That's right. God bless you, man. Thank you, Marvin.
God bless you. Thank you very much, Jess. Much appreciated, sir.
All right. You're welcome. All right, folks.
You have a great day.
You too, buddy. Thank you. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.